So we'll see if Brat Girl Summer and vibes are able to be, the worst inflationary crisis in 40 years, 12,000 jobs gained, the lowest in years. To talk about all of this and more, we have one of my friends, Stephen Miller. No, not that Stephen Miller, Red Steez with us. Stephen, you're in a purple-ish state that's been turned blue by Jared Polis, Colorado. Has the panic kicked in there yet, or do people still think that Kamala Harris can break this out?
The state I'm in doesn't really matter. What really matters is when Trump took North Carolina. For people following, Trump taking North Carolina was akin to Biden taking Arizona the last election. It doesn't mean everything's in the bag, but she really needed that one. She basically now needs all three of the blue wall states and maybe Nevada, and trending in Wisconsin and Nevada is away from her. So for those of you people on the right, now might be a good time to turn on CNN or MSNBC. This might be the point to start the gentle warm-up because this looks like this could maybe be over. And as Trump itches kind of closer and closer, you're going to start to see shenanigans in Pennsylvania, possibly Michigan. These are both states with highly reputable Democratic governors who want a future in the party, and they're just not going to hand the election over to Adolf Hitler. And so we're going to find out. We're going to find out how much of their rhetoric in this election mattered, how much of it they mean, or how much of it is, we were just saying things for the election. Because if this actually happens, if this is going the way that it's trending, you're going to hear a lot about the 14th Amendment talk starting tomorrow morning.
Well, I mean, they already, wanted to pack the courts because the decisions were not going the way they wanted, blow up the legislative filibuster because they can't get the majority they wanted, prosecute Trump because they couldn't get the primary challenger they wanted. If Trump isn't literally Hitler, do you think Whitmer and Shapiro, if it's 4 a.m. and Harris is behind and they want a future, are they going to try and find votes? Think about it. If Kamala Harris won a second term, that pushes the timeline back for President Whitmer or President Shapiro another 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, you make a point that everybody in politics hates each other. That's something that you have to kind of remember, that nobody likes each other, and it's all play nice anyway. So there is an argument about if you hand, Trump 4 more years, which he'll ask for a third term. We can all pretty much agree he'll at least make jokes about that. Maybe the country moves on from Trump in 4 years, and whoever the Democratic nominee would be would likely stand to benefit from that. And so even if that's the case, and this is wrapped up earlier than anybody thought, I'm not saying it either way. I'm not an election prognosticator. I'm simply just kind of looking at things like the New York Times needle, which is every journalist breathing into a paper bag right now, by the way. But if things are trending this way, then this isn't just going to be, we tried and Harris tried and that's it. You're going to start to hear talk about the 14th Amendment. You're going to start to see pressure on Harris to not certify the election until Trump's legal cases are solved. And so this,
I mean, with New York, she has it in the bag now, right? She doesn't need Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. Isn't it good that...
Yeah, that one is going to personally sting Trump. He's been talking about New York forever, and it's like they're going to cite the Puerto Rican vote in New York or some weird BS like that. And so this election still, even if it's wrapped up tonight, it's not going to be over. We saw them pressuring, electors in 2016 not to nominate Trump. You were going to see Jamie Raskin out there. He's already floated the 14th Amendment talk. And so this is still going to go on for a while. And so depending on, how this goes, like I said, if you're MSNBC or CNN, don't say anything that's going to end up in a montage like Joy Reid already has tonight about the media doing their best to get Harris over the line. Yes, we know that's been the whole game, and you don't have to actually come on and admit it. And so, we're just gonna kind of go through here. But as Michigan gets late and as Pennsylvania gets late, be on the lookout. And this isn't Stop the Steal conspiracy, anything. It's not about finding votes. It's about Kamala Harris's own legal team filed a challenge in Nevada to count votes 3 days past the deadline.
I mean, she has Mark Elias on her team.
Right, and this is a guy who tried to get Trump thrown off the ballot in Michigan, Arizona, and Colorado, and so they're not going to go down quietly. This isn't, even if Trump's ahead 3-12 or whatever. This is not going to be over tonight. And like you said, we're going to find out how much the rhetoric matters from the Democratic Party. Do you just hand the election over to Adolf Hitler? Because if you do that, again, it means all of this bluster and all of this talk and all this nonsense about dictatorships, how much credibility you are willing to burn just to kind of throw those things out there. And so, again, I guess we're going to find out. And as things are trending, we might be finding out a lot sooner than we thought.
One of the points that Matt Iglesias has tried to make is that, oh, the Democratic Party isn't all that strong. They weren't the ones that threw out Joe Biden. It was really the New York Times editorial board and a couple of pundits on cable news that threw out Joe Biden. And we saw them single-handedly manufacture a 10-point favorability bump in Harris that diminished the second she opened up her mouth after the DNC. Is this the last election that the corporate mainstream media has this type of pull?
I think we're going to learn a lot. And starting with, first of all, Harris has run almost an identical campaign to Hillary Clinton. I mean, at least Harris went to Wisconsin. We'll give her that. But embracing celebrities, and she has Paul Rudd now going to the voting lines, and embracing Beyonce and Lady Gaga and all of these Hollywood millionaires, and Oprah, a Hollywood billionaire, who hasn't had to deal with the hardship of the economy the last 3.5 years. That's certainly going to go down as a strategic choice. And so I said, there's the funniest two outcomes for me in this election are Harris wins the Electoral College, but Trump wins the popular vote and doesn't shut up about it for the next 3 years. And the other one is Harris loses because we're going to learn about all of the behind-the-scenes drama and sniping, and who made the decision for her to not go on Joe Rogan, who made the decision for her to embrace Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney should she happen to lose Michigan because the Muslim vote stays home. These are all things that strictly for Harris, I want Harris to lose, not because I'm a huge Trump guy, but I don't want to be robbed of those think pieces. I don't want to be robbed of those leaks and those stories coming out of the Harris campaign, which they certainly will do. And we saw this when she ran in 2020 with, how her campaign just turned into a viper's nest of finger pointing. And so she has 3 big groups in her campaign. She has Biden's people with Obama's people and then her people. And you're going to see the guns come out trained on each other. All 9 barrels, by the way, all trained on each other should this campaign not be successful.
I mean, what about the Biden factor? We have not heard from him in a week. After he called half the country garbage, he just disappeared.
Yeah, he's not even at her party tonight. Maybe he knows something. Joe Biden's legacy with this is going to be interesting. On one hand, he was being called George Washington when he stepped aside because they could no longer hide what he had become, and whether it's a mental condition, if it's a cognitive decline, whatever it is, if it's just age catching up. So they kind of forced him out of the race here against his will, basically saying, if you leave now, we'll secure your legacy. Well, Kamala Harris is Joe Biden's legacy. And so should she lose tonight in, pretty, definitive landslide, that's going to be put on him as well, when he didn't have to choose her. We know why he chose her. It was, George Floyd riots. He couldn't choose Amy Klobuchar because of the Minnesota factor there. We know why he chose her, because he flat out said he was looking at choosing a black female running mate. She was the safest pick as far as the Senate was concerned. And so, again, that's going to be all of this stuff that we're going to learn in the coming months and years about, again, Joe Biden's legacy. He might either be George Washington or he might be the guy that destroys his own party in the end.
I mean, the guy that potentially handed the White House back to Hitler, right? If you're taking them at face value.
Yeah, after doing everything in his power to prosecute and stop Hitler. And this is going to be an interesting thing with what, the country has decided, what you said about, is this the last election with mainstream media? I think what you're going to see, should, again, Trump win, is you're going to see this move away from the corporatization of the Democratic Party, the institutionalization of MSNBC becoming kind of a soft neoliberal network, and CNN just kind of trying to pretend to be one. We saw how CBS just kind of set their entire brand on fire. And so I've been doing this for a while as far as media analysis, media criticism, and they never learn. They never learn after an election. It's always somebody else's fault. It's Elon Musk's fault. You're going to hear a lot of that. He will be target number one, even if Harris loses in the media. They never seem to reach in and examine their own. Hey, what are we doing wrong here? And you saw Jeff Bezos' op-ed in the Washington Post where he kind of is trying to put the brakes on a lot of this. And maybe it happens, but they're going to have to fire a lot of people should that happen. And so
at least Taylor Lorenz already saw herself out, you know?
Yeah, she was smart to do that.
Yeah.
And for all the criticisms about, the Washington Post not endorsing, there was something like 27 other newspapers didn't offer a political endorsement because they're bleeding money. They're losing readers. It is far too biased, even to the point of where people who enjoy that kind of stuff know they're not getting accurate stories. And so, again, I've done this too long to even think remotely that they will learn from this. They will put the blame on Elon Musk. They'll put it on Twitter. They'll put it on white men or whatever it is that they do. And I hope that they do that because as long as they do, I get to stay employed in this career.
Well, Stephen, thank you again for joining us. I'm sure there will be many autopsy reports on this election in the coming days.